If you're anything like me, you will love making magic items for your Dungeons & Dragons campaigns. There are a plethora, of course, in the Dungeon Master's Handbook, plus a bunch of other official books by Dungeons & Dragons. But when you sit down and create something yourself, it's so much more meaningful. You could do so much more with it. Or even just taking something that already exists and just tweaking it ever so slightly to make it feel like your own is just so satisfying. And of course, with Dungeons & Dragons and Magic the Gathering being owned by the same company, Wizards of the Coast, the Ravnica crossover was really exciting for Magic the Gathering fans to see some of their favorite Magic the Gathering characters and items winding up in Dungeons & Dragons lore as official characters, creatures, and items. And there's a lot of people on the internet that will make magic items based off of their favorite fantasy genre and convert them into Dungeons & Dragons. And I'm no different. I love Warhammer 40,000. I've been playing Warhammer 40,000 for several years on and off, and there's a lot of really cool, deep, interesting, extensive lore within the Warhammer 40,000 universe. I also love playing Dungeons & Dragons. I've been a DM for multiple years now and have played in a handful of games, and I love creating magic items to give to my players. I especially love creating magic items that my players don't see coming, especially for my more veteran players who might already know most of the basic magic items that you can be given. When I give them something truly new and custom made, that is the utmost joy for me, because they have no idea what it is. They never heard of it before. They don't know how it works, instead of just giving them winged boots. So when I can give one of my players a truly custom made magic item that they've never heard of and they've never seen, and their faces light up because it's something truly brand new and interesting that they have no idea about, that's what's fun for me. And I got to thinking the other day, I would love to see Warhammer 40,000 somehow work its way into Dungeons & Dragons. So I started working on some magic items out of Warhammer 40,000 for my current campaign going on, and I'd like to share some of them with you. These 3 magic items were directly pulled from the Warhammer 40,000 universe, and I've tried to stay relatively close to their lore in terms of how they would work in the Dungeons & Dragons universe. Of course, to be clear, Dungeons & Dragons and Warhammer are vastly different in how the game is played, in how the items are used, and virtually everything about them are extensively different from each other. So being able to take 3 items from Warhammer 40,000 and turn them into magic items for Dungeons & Dragons is not as easy as you would think, but we're gonna hopefully work with what we got. Starting first off with probably the most recognizable thing from Warhammer 40,000, the Purity Seal. The Purity Seal is something you've probably seen even if you don't know what Warhammer is. It is that popular of a thing. It is usually resembled as a red wax seal with a skull or an aquila or some other form of logo, followed by sheets of parchment written in usually High Gothic. They show up all over the Warhammer 40,000 universe. You can find them on people's armor, on their weapons, even on ships, on random items, on books, literally everywhere you could stick something with a flat surface, you'll find them. Typically what they're represented has kind of shifted as editions of Warhammer have begun, but they started out as badges of honor or bravery given to Grey Knights, a faction of Warhammer 40,000, for fighting demons in the warp. But as time goes on, their use becomes much more broad, and you can see them virtually on anyone, really. They could be still shown as signs of bravery, or acts of valor, or anything really to show that you are true to your cause and you are strong in your determination. People put them on their guns, people put them on their armor, wherever you can slap one on. If you have the ability and you have one, you're gonna throw it on there because it might help you, or it might literally just be wax parchment. Who knows? The closest real world thing you could really equip them to is similar to badges of honor given to our military today. So let's take this and convert it into a magic item for Dungeons & Dragons. The Purity Seal can be applied to either a weapon or piece of armor, and applying it takes 1 minute. Once the seal has been applied, you gain its corresponding benefit depending on whether you've attached it to an armor or a weapon. At any point in time, you may remove the seal from whatever it's currently attached to and reapply it to something else to give it the benefit. Reattaching it takes 1 minute. If the Purity Seal is attached to a weapon, once per day, you can give yourself advantage on an attack roll. If the Purity Seal is attached to a piece of armor, then once per day, you can give an opponent that is attacking you disadvantage on their attack roll. And you may apply as many Purity Seals as you would like to your armor or your weapon, however, its benefit only stacks up to a maximum of 3, giving you either 3 advantages on your attacks per day, or your opponent 3 disadvantages on attacking you per day. And then of course on a brand new day you get all those benefits back. So I felt in doing that, it gives you a small little benefit to your weapon, and then the more you get, the better you get, up to a maximum of 3, of course, because if you were to just deck out a quarterstaff in 20 purity seals and give yourself 20 advantages per day, well, then that's a little ridiculous. You of course could do that if your DM gives you 20 purity seals and just make it look like the most rad quarterstaff in all of existence, but of course you'd only get 3 advantage attack rolls per day. Before we move on to our next 2, if you're enjoying this and you want to see more of this, be sure to leave a like on this video and comment what other magic items you'd like to see made from Warhammer 40,000. Our second item for today is the Iron Halo. Similar to the Purity Seal, the Iron Halo is something that is given to Space Marines in order to show their bravery and give them a boost to their armor. Meant as a force field of some regard, it's meant to beef up the soldier so that they don't take as much damage from oncoming onslaughts. And they quite literally look like Iron Halos mounted to the back of their power armor. Some of them are cut in half, whereas some of them are just the full entire circle. Now on the tabletop for the actual game, Iron Halos actually have a purpose versus Purity Seals that don't really do anything except look cool. In Warhammer 40,000, if something is attacking your model, you may have up to 2 different ways to save against the oncoming attack. The primary one is a regular saving throw, which can be changed and altered based on what is attacking you. However, you can also have what is called an invulnerable save, which cannot be altered by anything that's attacking you. The Iron Halo usually will grant a model a invulnerable save, which cannot be altered. So sticking with that theme, let's go ahead and change the Iron Halo into a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition magic item. The Iron Halo as well is a wondrous item, but I've made this one rare and it requires attunement. When unattuned, this item looks like a bronzish gold crown with 12 spikes coming off of it. Once you spend an hour to attune to it, it becomes an ethereal floating halo floating just about a foot above your head, similar to the ability that passively affects ASMRs if you choose to take it. The Iron Halo has 3 charges once you've attuned to it, and it regains all 3 charges daily at dawn. It has 3 different abilities that require a certain amount of charges in order to activate. By spending 1 charge, you can give yourself advantage on your next saving throw. By spending 2 charges, you can cast the shield spell as a reaction. And by spending 3 charges, you can automatically pass your next saving throw. Since of course invulnerable saves do not exist in the Dungeons & Dragons universe, we wanted to make it still feel like something that could help you defend yourself against oncoming attacks. So giving you advantage on saving throws or automatically passing a saving throw and then giving you the ability to cast the shield spell as a reaction, I felt perfectly resembled what the Iron Halo is meant to do in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. And our last magic item for today is going to be a weapon, something you can wield against your foes instead of applying onto yourself. Now some of you are probably already thinking that I'm going to be doing the chainsword because it's one of the most iconic melee weapons in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. And you would be right, it is the most iconic weapon, but I am not doing the chainsword for today. It is far too difficult to properly take the chainsword and turn it into a Dungeons & Dragons magic item. However, I definitely could do it, and if you want to see that happen, be sure to leave a comment and like on this video and subscribe, and maybe I will do it in a future video if this one gets enough good attention. So instead of the chainsword, I decided to do a weapon that I could easily make into a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and it would seamlessly cross over without too much hassle. And that weapon is the Power Sword. There are many melee weapons of power in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Everything from the power sword, to a power axe, to a thunder hammer. You can have any number of melee weapons truly with this arcing lightning power residing within them. And they basically act how you would think the normal weapon would act, a hammer or a sword or an axe acting as a hammer, sword, or axe. However, they're imbued with a special power that looks very much like white lightning that causes them to be able to cut through armor like butter. So let's go ahead and start with the Power Sword. Now truthfully, I have made this Power Sword a longsword, but if you want to change it to make it to any weapon, you of course can. Its rarity I have labeled as very rare that does require attunement. You have a +2 to hit and damage rolls once you've attuned to this magic weapon. You also deal an additional 1d6 of lightning on damage rolls. The longsword is made of a very bright metallic material that dances and jumps with electricity sparking off of it both within and on the outskirts of the blade. The Power Sword has 4 charges and it regains all 4 charges daily at dawn. You can spend any number of the charges to do any of the following abilities. When making a melee attack roll with the Power Sword, you may spend one of its charges to give yourself the ability to hit the target's AC before applying its magical AC points. Basically, if the target has cast the shield spell or is wearing mage armor or armor of Agathis or anything that changes its base AC magically, you no longer have to meet that AC, you only have to meet its AC before any of those magical effects are applied. Or you could spend one charge to make your sword illuminate very intensely and brightly for up to 20 feet, and then dim light for 20 feet additionally after that. Any creatures that can see you, that are within 20 feet of you when you cause it to shine brightly, must make a DC 16 dexterity saving throw to shield their eyes from the blinding light. If they fail, they are blinded until the end of their next turn. So that is 3 items from the Warhammer 40,000 universe converted into magic items for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. What did you think? Did you like these magic items? Would you run these magic items as a DM? Would you be excited to wield any of these magic items as a player? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you want to see more magic items like this, be sure to subscribe and leave a like so I know that you enjoyed this video and I will continue to create more of these. And if you wish to support me financially so I can make more of these on a more constant basis, I do have a Patreon that you can find linked down below with some cool benefits for you. If you want to see more of me or talk with me live, I stream on Twitch 2 to 3 times a week. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, tell your friends. If you didn't, you tell me. Have yourself a good one, everybody. Skål.